Good morning and a warm welcome to 20 Minutes on Fighting Disinformation. This morning, I have the pleasure to introduce you to my colleague from the Future Media Hub's Judy Parnall, who is Head of Standards and Industry at the BBC Research and Development. Through our meetings, I've heard Judy talk many times about the Origin project, and I'm very excited that Judy will be sharing her insights from this project, which the BBC have carried out in partnership with New York Times, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and in partnership with Microsoft. And I think that the majority of those tuned in this morning will share the concern of finding ways to help readers distinguish credible news from misinformation. And that's exactly what the project Origin is all about. I think it's worthwhile noting that Judy is looking for more news organizations, maybe yours, to join the group to use the solutions. So Judy, welcome to 20 Minutes on Fighting Misinformation, and a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Christopher. I will now switch back to English because that's probably the extent of my Norwegian. But I'm really delighted to be here today and to talk to you. So as Christopher said, I come from the BBC. We've been working for a while in this project called Project Origin. We're actually looking at protecting trusted media. What we're not looking at is sometimes as important as what we are looking at. It's a huge, complex jigsaw of the many different ways that we can tackle disinformation. And this is what we see as one part of the puzzle. So this is something we've been working on for a while. We come to it, say, we all know that disinformation is rife. It's everywhere. And it's so easy in this ecosystem to lose control of our content and branding. Actually, for people to fake our news, to say this came from the BBC where it had nothing really to do with us at all. Or for someone to claim credibility where they didn't, or to misuse our content, to edit it in a bad way. We saw that happening as to a certain extent through elections, where you would find people attacked who were campaigning, maybe not directly from one of the parties, but one of the campaigning organisations would take some of our news content and edit it to change the story, to make it that we were biased in one way, where we were trying to be neutral. But establishing media provenance, saying this is where it came from. If it claims to come from the BBC, if it claims to come from NRK, you can trust that it came from NRK, that it came from the BBC, that came from where you thought it was, and it has not been altered on its path. What a difference that would make. Now, is this something that can really happen? Well, this really is true. And this is an example that happened from this week. So this is a piece of video that within the last 7 days has appeared on social media. It has our brand on it. It has our logo on it. It's as we would state and format it. It has all the right fonts. It has all the right colours. But it's nothing to do with us. And it is completely made up news. It is fake. So it's claiming that we are saying that we've got evidence that Poles are going to invade Ukraine under other pretexts. Well, it's not. You can see what it's claiming here. But this did not come from us. But how would you know if you were just looking at this piece of media that it wasn't the BBC? And this is this week. So we saw something very similar a couple of weeks ago that was slightly more obvious because the English wasn't correct, and there were things that you could find that showed it was wrong. But in this case, it's really sophisticated, the actual styling and how it's been faked, but it didn't come from us. So what can we do about this? So if I this is always the challenge, isn't it? Get it to move to the next slide when you've shown this video. So apologies for this. I'm going to stop sharing, move to the next slide, and then highly unprofessional and move on again. I'll just move to the right, and I will. The technology sometimes lets us down, as we all know, but hopefully can now come back again, and you can get this.
We can see it and just put it in presenter mode, and we're ready to go.
Yeah. Right, here we are. Right, got there. So what we tried to do is we came together a few years ago to form this project for Project Origin. We looked at what could we do? Could we do something to sign a piece of content to show that it is something we could do, that you can tag a piece of content, do it cryptographically, so it actually gets carried with it. In the same way that you sign a piece of, you get the secure little padlock up and for an SSL site to show you can be secure that financial transactions are safe. Can you do something similar? And at IBC in 2020, we published a paper on some work that we'd been doing with CBC Radio Canada, the public service broadcaster from Canada, with Microsoft and with the New York Times, to actually prove that this is something that you could do, that you could show that you can sign this a piece of content, and it's possible. You can authenticate, you can put its provenance. We then discovered that the Content Authenticity Initiative were working in a very similar space. This was an initiative led by Adobe. They've come looking at the same issue. We came looking from the aspect of video. They came looking from the aspect of pictures. But we came together thinking we had a similar aim. And so we joined up saying, why don't we form up to do some underlying technical standards to actually take this together? And so we formed what's called C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authentication. So we came in with Adobe, with ARM, TruePic, and Intel. Who ARM and Intel are chips manufacturers, and TruePic also do a lot of video services, and again look at authenticity of pictures and of videos. And we've since been joined on the board by Sony and Twitter. And so we go, Sony taking their camera end, take it right back to the point of origination. You've got, in fact, ARM and Intel take it to the point, even the chips that embed, taking it tools manufacturers, Adobe and TruePic, through journalistic organizations like us and CBC, and right through to Twitter. We've also had groups joining up, like some of the overarching journalist bodies who've joined us, and Witness, which are a human rights organization, all moving together to say, we have something good going on in this way. Let's try and take it forward and explore what you can do. And can we get a standard that is free to be used by anybody, that we could then have one way of signing your content? So all of us, coming right from the point of whichever broadcaster, whichever journalistic organization we come to, for whichever newspaper, whether you're an independent, whether you're a big organization, you can sign your content, and this came from me. And then anybody can look at it and interrogate it, find out where did that content originate. The challenge was that as you process media material, sometimes this metadata could be stripped out. All that hard work you've put in to get it there, but it could be taken out. We've made sure that actually the solutions keep that integrity right through the publication process. We want to be able to embed it easily if the workflows, if it's to succeed. But the last thing any of you want to do when you've been working really hard is then have to do a whole load more steps out. It's got to be really low friction for the journalists and for those creating the content. And then for consumers, they have to understand, what does this mean? and help them to make those key decisions. So what's the process? Well, we start by capturing the piece of content. It's firstly created, and it will have some metadata and some provenance which is about this provenance added to it. So the content, the audio, the video, the technology, this is the what we call the essence, and then we add that metadata to it. So this is what we call the asset. We then digitally sign this asset. This is what we call the claim. So that's done by the publisher, and it's actually developed so that you can have multiple stages of signing it, so you can track it. So it could be that the agency, if it came from somewhere like Reuters, they could sign it and say this is correct, leaving us. And then if it then the BBC used it, they can sign and say, right, that was okay, we took that content and we keep that Reuters signature, but we add on the BBC signature after that. And we sign, so we put this together, and that's what we call the claim. And the metadata and the bindings, those secure references to the asset, are then locked away. They're put, this is done cryptographically, and put in a manifest, this storage, this record of what these claims are. So you can, so as I said, you can have multiples of these in a single piece of media. So keeping these different production paths, really important that we know that. The manifest can either be embedded in a piece of content, so you can carry it along with you, or if it's missing, you can use a fingerprint or a watermark to actually recreate it. And it's also, there's a use case where it could be available publicly in an online data storage system. So you could go and remotely interrogate it. We've looked at whether you use some sort of a digital ledger, the blockchain technology, to use this. That's a question we're often asked, and it's one that you could use, but it doesn't have to be. That's quite a heavy way of doing it, both in processing terms. So that takes up a lot of carbon as you use the energy to do it. And it also takes a lot of more functionality in the all stages in the process. That's something we're saying is not necessarily the way it has to be done. So then once you've done this and it comes to the person reading it, they can have a check the manifest and confirm that the source and the content hasn't been altered. So that's the process, how it works through. Well, what could you do with that? So if I go back to here, it could be something that you show to a viewer, that you expose. We've experimented with having little symbols in the corners, with looking at whether it's red, the provenance is wrong, it's green, the provenance is fine, or grey, well, actually, we don't know. So is that something we could do? Is it something that you carry alongside it? And you, in the same way, if you look on your phone, you can actually click and find out about the history of how that piece of video was made, or your photo was taken. Is that, again, something that you could provide? And all that education that needs to go through it, that's the piece of the work one of the pieces of work we're doing actively now. So to summarize this, these are some key points of it. What we're looking at is we're looking at trust that it is coming from where we said it came from. We're not actually looking at the truth of the content. We're not saying this is a truth. We think that's a different part of the chain. We think that's work in the areas of fact checking. That's work in the area of those areas of interrogation. That's something we don't feel that we're not trying to address that in this particular standard. So I said it's a big jigsaw to try and fight disinformation, and this is one part of it. These standards we're looking at being adopted globally. There's huge interest in the US, absolutely a massive amount, right up to actually up to legislators who are very interested in the work that we're being doing. There's interest across Europe. I know that a number of European broadcasters are looking at it and what it could take. I've recently heard of the Times of India are looking at what they can do. So there's a newspaper there. So it's something, as I said, this standard will be free at the point of use. Everyone who comes in to work in this area, I gave the board members, but there are a lot more members involved as well. We have all signed that we will put these standards out to be free, and we will not exploit our IPR directly. We can build services around it. You can build tools around it. In fact, it's already being embedded in tools from Adobe and others. But that is the aim. And the aim is that it will make the internet a safer place for our content and for ourselves as well. I recently heard this was taken to a steering group, a think tank in the US. And they actually said that this is one of the most important pieces of technology happening anywhere in the world at the moment. This effort is, they consider it to be fundamental, because actually proving the truth of what you see online, actually being able to tackle this disinformation can help to counter so many of the challenges that we're facing. And finally, in my last 2 or 3 minutes, I'd like to echo Christopher's plea for help. The areas we're particularly looking at help is to how we make this work for real. We have a standard here. We've got that out in less than a year, which, believe me, for technology standards is lightning speed. But we're looking at help on how we embed it into workflows, how we make it happen in practice, and then how we take that out to the user. The more people who can give us some input at this point in the process, the better. And we know we need to do things like protecting our journalists. We're very aware of security aspects. We need to protect our sources. We need to expose what we want to expose. We need to make it very easy to use, but we really do need your help. So if, please, you've got my email address there. You can also see the Project Origin website address there. I would love to hear from you and to get you onto our mailing list, which will then give you calls for involvement in the workshops that we're having to bottom out some of these issues. And it will particularly give particular direct calls for help. Also, c2pa.org is the one for the standard. Again, there are working groups around harms and making sure that we don't have any undue harms and how it works in practice. Again, please do get in touch and do join in the effort. And I wish you all well as we all look to work together to tackle disinformation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy. I think this is impressive on so many levels and a huge contribution towards ensuring a trusted media. If anyone wants to talk to Judy directly, you have her email in that presentation. If you wanted to share this with anyone within your organization or colleagues elsewhere, the recording will be made available very soon. And also, if anyone in the Media City Bergen cluster would wanted to discuss this with us and how we could do anything jointly to support this important work, then do get in touch. We will do everything we can to support it from our end, Judy. So thank you again, Judy, for joining us this morning. That's been really inspiring. Now, before we ended this session, I would like to remind everyone of our conference, MCB Fact, that's coming up on the 8th of June with a broad agenda focusing on how to tackle mis and disinformation. I'm also very excited about the panels we'll have in the atrium here at the Media City Bergen following the conference with politicians and experts. And I'm very much looking forward to a panel of teenagers that will tell us about their consumption of the media and how they deal with fake news. I think there could be some eye-openers there. So this is all happening on the 8th of June. Looking forward to see many of you then. And until next time, from all of us at the Media City Bergen, keep safe and stay healthy. Thank you.